Hey guys, Clutch Coverage Sports. Braden here with Sports Action with Jaxson.
Yes, sir. Big shout out to StreamYard for powering this stream for us. Big episode ahead of us. We're breaking down the bracket for March Madness. Braden?
Yeah, let's just jump right into it. With the number one overall seed in the South Regional playing in Lexington, Kentucky, we have Auburn. They will be facing the winner of the play-in game that is on Tuesday. So let's just kind of talk about Auburn a little bit. What do you see in them?
I mean, the big thing that stands out to me here is Janai Broome. I mean, he's a National Player of the Year candidate. Arguably, in my opinion, the best player in basketball. I'm kind of expecting a big tournament. I think for them, it's Final Four or bust. I mean, I think that should be the expectation with how they've played all year, how they looked. I mean, they kind of dropped a tough one to Tennessee, which, in my opinion, is one of the worst officiated games I've ever seen. I really think they should have won that. That's a story for another time. But, yeah, I'm expecting I don't think there's a team in their bracket until the Final Four that can beat them. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, they're going to draw the winner of St. Francis, and none of those teams strike as a 16 seed that can upset, especially a good Auburn team. You kind of look at you mentioned Janai Broome. They have some other guys, Baker Mazzara, Pettiford, and Kelly. They need to be on for the tournament because they have been good lately with the three ball. But then Dylan Cardwell and Janai Broome inside just provide something that especially these 16s can't stop, but they will have a dominant force on the inside. They have struggled late. They've dropped the last three of the last four, which has never happened before where, the number one overall seed has lost three of the last four. And I'm not really sold on this Auburn team. I know you said it's Final Four or bust, but I think they do have a tough draw. Maybe facing A&M or Michigan in that semifinal or in the Sweet 16 game might be tough. And then, their two seeds, Michigan State, who has looked pretty good so far, but they'll definitely advance in the first round.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. Michigan State's a tough team, but I just think there's a night and day difference between the two teams. I mean, yeah, Auburn's lost, last 3 or 4 they've played, whatever. But, I mean, it's tournament time. And I think Bruce Pearl knows that. I think he's going to have his guys ready, and I think these guys are going to be locked in. I think we're going to see a very good Auburn team in this tournament.
All right, let's move on to actually the first game of Thursday, kick off the madness with Louisville-Creighton. Let's Louisville talk a little bit about them first. They made it to the SEC or the ACC championship game, losing to Duke in the end. But they really have looked good lately. They've been hot. Only lost 2 ACC games. One of them was to Duke. And they actually draw a matchup in Kentucky. So they're going to get a home game in the first round. Creighton having to not travel too far from being from Nebraska. But, it's kind of unfair giving an 8 seed the home game here. What do you think about the Louisville-Creighton matchup?
Yeah, I mean, one thing that stands out to me with this Creighton team is, one day they'll play like one of the best teams in the country, and the next, you see a completely different Creighton team. But Louisville really just hasn't impressed me this year. I'm not too sold on them, honestly. And I think Creighton wins this basketball game, home game or not for Louisville. My pick in this one is Creighton. I think they look better at their highs, and if they're low, that could be bad. But I don't know. I got Creighton in this one. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm gonna read you a couple stats that aren't really good stats, but they're kind of March Madness fun. Creighton plays 60% of their games at the noon slot, and so you might be like, "Oh, that's not a big deal," but when you're playing a tip-off at 11 o'clock, Louisville's a night slate team most of the time. Creighton's proved they can be ready at early times, and it's tough to play those 11 o'clock games. You have to get to the arena at 8 to shoot around.
And you see that a lot with football too. I mean, a lot of the Big Ten teams play, that kind of noon slot. Youth teams in the SEC like LSU or an Alabama team that are used to that 6 p.m. kickoff time. So when you're moving that up, I mean that really does play more of a role than people think. I didn't know that Creighton was used to playing at that 11, 12 p.m. or 12 a.m. slot or 12 p.m. No one's playing basketball at midnight. But I think that will play a little bit of test here. And that, I mean, I don't know. I still got Creighton on this one.
Yeah, Louisville's got some injury concerns with Rain Smith, but they have some good guards. It's going to be Louisville's guards against Creighton's big and Ryan Kalkbrenner. He's, one of the best bigs in college basketball. And Creighton fans also travel well. They're known to fill up the arena. So I'm going to go with Creighton Blue Jays on this one. Jersey pick. I think they're going to start the madness. I think they can even go on and upset Auburn because, Kalkbrenner versus Broome is going to be a great matchup. All right, let's go to the 5-12 game in the South Regional. Michigan versus UC San Diego. UC San Diego, just to give you a little preview of them, this is their first year being eligible to make the NCAA tournament, and they made it. So, kind of a first season, maybe a Cinderella team here. And they shoot the three ball pretty well, and Michigan kind of struggles. What do you think about this game?
Yeah, I've heard people talk about this team. I think it's just because, it's their first year being eligible, whatever. I think Michigan smacks them in the mouth. I don't think this UC San Diego team really has their way with this Michigan team. I think Michigan is a lot more physical of a ball club. I think they play more complementary basketball too. I'm going with Michigan. Just as far as I think they've played tougher teams, and I think they're just an all-around better team. What do you think?
Yeah, Michigan's got three good bigs. Danny Wolf, I don't know if you get the chance to watch him much, but he plays just like Nikola Jokic. He's bringing the ball up for the team. They're working their offense through him, and they have a couple other good bigs to complement him. Head coach Dusty May is, he's the FAU coach that made a run, took the Owls to the Final Four, so he's got it under his belt. But then when you look at this UC San Diego team, they force a ton of turnovers, and Michigan is actually 328th in the nation in turning the ball over. So that's something you can look at as a stat of, hey, maybe San Diego can provide some pressure and turn Michigan over, but I think Michigan just might be too much in this game. They're only 2.5-point favorites, which is very shocking to me, but, coming off the Big Ten win. But I'm going to go with Michigan. I think it's going to be a close game, though. Next up, we got Texas A&M, the 4 seed, playing 13 seed Yale. What do you got here?
I got Yale. And here's why I say that. Everyone, he's already making faces. This A&M team is overrated. I don't know why they're a 4 seed. I'm just not impressed with them. They got, the guy they retired his jersey, big deal. I mean, they might as well go ahead and take that jersey off the freaking rafters, throw it on the ground, because I'm telling you right now, Yale's winning this basketball game. They beat Auburn last year, and they're making more upset magic this year. Give me Yale.
I hate the pick, and it's not because I'm an A&M guy. I think this Yale team is terrible. They almost lost twice in their conference tournament. They haven't played anybody. They just aren't good. They have the 117th rated defense and the 59th offense. That's barely in the top 64. They're not a good basketball club. And you look at A&M, yes, at times they can't score, but their guards are hot right now. Wade Taylor's played good basketball lately. Yes, they shouldn't have retired his jersey, but, maybe they should have. Maybe he goes and wins the whole March Madness. You never know, but they're going to have their way with Yale. They dominate the glass. They have experience. They're a rock-fighting team. I think A&M has their way with Yale by 20. The only kind of thing you could see is Poulikitis is their only player, but he's a great one. He averages 20 points a game, shoots 40% from the three. Something the Aggies have struggled to guard lately.
Yeah, no, potato, still give me Yale.
All right, let's go to the bottom half of the South Regional. Ole Miss. They're going to get the winner of North Carolina, San Diego State. Let's talk about the North Carolina, San Diego State matchup real quick. North Carolina really shouldn't have made the tournament. I'm very surprised. They're 1-12 in quad one games. What do you think? Who do you think is going to win this matchup between UNC and San Diego State?
I think UNC. San Diego sucks. They're just not a very good basketball team. And I think North Carolina is a little bit better than people give them credit for. I mean, yeah, you can make an argument or whatever, but they've played tough in some tough matchups. I mean, against Duke a couple weeks ago, they looked really good in that one. Throughout the conference, who did they lose? Did they lose to Duke in the semis?
Yeah, Duke. And they honestly, they were down 25 at the half, and they came and made it a 1-point game. selling in the end there by that lane violation on the free throw.
Oh yeah, no, I know exactly. Yes, and first of all, let's talk about that. I don't think I've never seen that in my lifetime ever, and I like watch any kind of I've just never seen somebody step over the line. I don't know what he was trying to do. I don't know what he was trying to get at by doing that, but he screwed his team over because if he makes, he did make the free throw.
He did.
North Carolina could have won that game.
Yeah, and they could have, and I agree with you. I think they have their way with San Diego State. But what do you think about their matchup against Ole Miss?
Man, I think Ole Miss is a better ball club. I'm going to say Ole Miss. It wouldn't shock me if North Carolina pulled something, from out of nowhere. But I don't know. I think, they've got some good ball players. They got, you get a guy like Malik Dia. If he gets hot, man. I know against Arkansas earlier this year, what did he have? 26 points, I think it was against Arkansas. What game was it? Second game of the year or whatever. He shows when he gets hot, he's not a ball player you want to line up against. So I think you get a guy like that hot, and obviously you get other players, like Murray who can shoot the ball. I don't know. I think Ole Miss takes this one. I think they could be a potential bracket buster team in this side of the, I don't think they will, obviously, but Ole Miss is not a team I'd really want to play if I was anybody.
Yeah, I agree. They played Auburn real well. The Arkansas game was a good one too, but there is some concerns. Sean Padula, he's a great guard, but ball security's been a problem for him all year. And they play UNC. UNC could put pressure on Padula, and RJ Davis could turn him over. But I do think Ole Miss wins against either team. They'll have no trouble if they play San Diego State, but Carolina might give them something. But you got to look at North Carolina's 1-12 in quad one. This will be a quad one game. Percentages don't look good for UNC in this game. Number 3, Iowa State versus number 14, Lipscomb.
Do we even really need to talk about this game? I think Iowa State's going to win this. Crazy stuff has happened. Crazier stuff has happened. But, Iowa State looked pretty good this past week. They've looked good all year. I think they pick up the win here.
Yeah, I think it's pretty safe to say Iowa State's going to win. But you look at Lipscomb, they led on Arkansas at halftime in Arkansas to start the year. Just shows you they can play a good half of basketball, but I don't think they can put two halves together. They take a lot of threes. They don't make a lot of threes, but they take a lot of threes. So they're willing to chuck and chase is what they call it. Just throw a shot up there and try to get a rebound and see what happens. And I think Iowa State, two of the best guards, Curtis Jones, Taman Lipsey are some dogs, and Johnson's looked good inside. So I think Iowa State has no problems. 7-10 in that one. We got Marquette versus New Mexico.
Man, I really haven't watched a whole lot of either team. I guess watched a little bit of Marquette this year. I'm gonna go with Marquette. I think Marquette wins this game. I just don't really know a whole lot about this New Mexico ball club, but I haven't heard anything crazy about them. Give me Marquette.
Yeah, they have some pieces. Donovan Dent's a great player, and they have Rick Pitino's son, Richard Pitino's coaching the team. They were the 1 seed in the Mountain West, but the Mountain West isn't too good at basketball. I think Marquette wins this game, no problem. I think it's interesting to me that Marquette's only 3-point favorites. I think they have their way with New Mexico, especially with Cam Jones. He's built for March. I think he can put up 40 in any game he plays. So I'm going to go with Marquette here. New Mexico just sometimes they can't score the ball, and that'll be a problem. Now we have – let's see, where are we in the bracket? I lost my spot. Okay, yeah, Michigan State here. We got Michigan State. They're taking on Bryant Bulldogs. What do you got here?
Yeah, I give you Michigan State. They're kind of a team I've been high on all year. They kind of lost a tough one to Wisconsin in, their conference tourney championship or whatever. But, you can't win every game in the world. I think Michigan State wins this game, and I think they win by about at least 20. Yeah, give me the Spartans.
Yeah, this one's not close. Bryant's just not a good team. Michigan State might have struggled if they faced, a different 15 like an Omaha or a Robert Morris, but Bryant's just not good at basketball in my opinion. Michigan State, they're very hot and cold though. but they have looked good as of late. Izzo and March is just someone you don't want to pick against, but I'm not too high on them. But I'll definitely take the Spartans here in round 1. Now we're going to shift to the bottom left side of the bracket where we have Florida as the number 1 seed. They'll head to North Carolina to play, and they're actually going to get Norfolk State in a matchup. Can anything happen here, or is Florida just too dominant?
I think Florida's too dominant. I mean, that's a team I've picked to potentially win it all and definitely go to the Final Four. That's another team like an Auburn team, but I mean, I think they're better than the Auburn team. I think this is the best number 1 seed other than Duke. I mean, I still make the argument that Florida's better. I know you'd agree to disagree on that one. But I think Florida beats Norfolk, and I really don't think it's close at all. I think Florida dominates pretty big.
They're going to have their way with Norfolk. But I just wanted to point out that some of their bigs, they fly way under the radar. Condon, Thomas Hall, those are good players. And they're very fundamental. And I think when you pair that with Clayton and Martin and Richard, the best backcourt in the country, Florida's I think they're more dominant than Auburn. I think they're more dominant than Houston. And they're probably the most complete team in the tournament. The only problem is Todd Golden is a little bit of a prick. I'm not a big fan of their coach. As I'm not with, what's Kevin O'Sullivan at Florida for baseball?
Oh, man. I like Sully. I think Sully, you can't take away with what he's done. But, yeah, he definitely rubs some people the wrong way. That's for sure.
But it has nothing to do with the basketball. I think Florida has their way. I think they won't struggle with UConn or OU, which is the next matchup. So what do you see in that game, Connecticut versus Oklahoma?
I like this is a tough one. Give me UConn, but I think it's going to be a really good game, and it wouldn't surprise me if OU wins. I mean, UConn has been, in my opinion, like pretty hot and cold this year, and so is OU. They're both those teams that if they get hot, man, they're going to be tough teams to beat. But give me UConn. I just really haven't seen a whole lot from Oklahoma. I mean, they had that win against Georgia. Really, really good battle with Kentucky. But, man, give me UConn.
Yeah, I feel like Oklahoma's a little overseeded being a 9. I feel like they should have been a 10, maybe even playing in. But something that stuck out to me was Oklahoma's ranked 70th defensively, which is not very good, but UConn's actually 94th. So this is not going to be a defensive game. I would take the over if you're a betting man because these teams can't stop the ball. They do shoot well and they score well, but defense might be a problem here. Just want to note UConn. Every game I've ever watched of UConn, they go down big. They go on a run, cut it to 5. The bench stands up. They celebrate. Their chest bumping. The crowd's into it. And then they go right back and just blow another lead. And OU's can go on a run. I don't think UConn's very talented. Liam McNeely doesn't stick out to me. I think he's a bit overrated. But they do have some good leadership, and Hurley's a great coach. I just think I'm going to ride the SEC here. There's a reason they have 14 teams in the tournament. I think OU wins here.
Yeah.
The 5 seed in this region is Memphis. They're going to face Colorado State, who's the Mountain West tourney champs. And just to note real quick, Tyrese Hunter, the senior guard, the Texas transfer, is injured and on crutches. I don't know if he will be able to play. Most likely out for the game. So does that have anything to do with Memphis?
Yeah, I think that 100% could play a big role in this game. I still think Memphis wins, but it really wouldn't surprise me if Colorado State popped off and had themselves a game. I mean, actually, you know what? I'm going to go out and say I think Colorado State gets the upset here. I think Memphis could win, but I mean, missing a player like that, and then I mean, they've shown to be a team that when they're hot, they're hot. I mean, they're a tough team to play. I mean, I think if they can get rolling, get some shots up, I think Colorado State 110% can win this game. And if I'm a Colorado State fan, I kind of like my draw here.
Oh, I love the draw. I love it. I think the other 5 seeds, Michigan, who just won the Big Ten, Clemson's a very good team. And then blanking on the other 5 right now. Let's see Oregon. Yeah, they're pretty solid. So I think you get the best draw playing Memphis. But something I look for is, who's the most dominant player, and that's going to be PJ Haggerty. He averages over 20 points a game. He had 40 43, I believe, in the semifinal. I think he's just too much. Dane Danger is a great big, along with Musa Cisse, the OK State transfer. I'm going to make another shirt pick here, but this is one of the ones I'm going to go back and forth with. I'm going to go with the Memphis Tigers here. All right, let's move on to the 4 seed, Maryland, team we've been high on the podcast. But playing one of my favorite 13s, Grand Canyon. What do you see in this matchup?
You know, I really think Grand Canyon's a pretty legit team. I mean, they've got players that can get hot and have shown that they can score points. I mean, I think Maryland's a good team as well, though. I mean, they're the 4 seed for a reason, but I like Grand Canyon. I'm going to pick Maryland in this one, but I think Grand Canyon could pull off an upset and could shock the world. But give me Maryland.
Yeah, I'm going to take Maryland too. I'll just flat out say it now. Their defense is too much. Derek Queen and Julian Reese are two great bigs, and their guard play has been good of late. Something I want to note about Grand Canyon, the team is legit. I mean, the rankings are a little off. They're 93rd in the Ken Palm, but they got some good transfers. Jacoby Coles and Tom Grant Foster, leads the team. But they do have some struggling shooting the free throw, and rebounding is actually in the bottom 25% of the field and was an issue in their championship game. I think it's a bad draw for Grand Canyon. I think Maryland wins pretty easily, but Grand Canyon is a good team and could do it. I think they just have a bad matchup against Maryland. Let's move to the 6-11 game, and that one, Missouri versus Drake. Drake is a team I've noted before who they've dominated everybody, but now they're playing an SEC team. Kind of a bad draw for Drake. What do you see?
Yeah, it's a bad draw for Drake, but give me Drake in this one. I think they can pull off the win. This Missouri team has some struggles defensively. I mean, if Drake can go out here and pop them in the mouth and start scoring some points, and Missouri's kind of playing on a back foot, something that when they've done that this season, they've really not really known how to react. I mean, I definitely think Drake wins this game. I mean, obviously Missouri's, the 6th seed, predicted to win, but I think Drake could really make some noise here. They have a first-year head coach, so that might play something for Drake. That might kind of play a little bit of a factor, but I really don't know that he hasn't looked like a first-year head coach this year. So I think Drake's going to go ahead and pull out the win. It's another upset I have. What do you think?
I'm really high on this Drake team. I think they should have been a 10 seed. I think it's kind of a slap in the face to Drake to put him up against one of the better 6s in Missouri. Missouri's won big SEC games. They have a solid offense with good guard play. They do have a concern. Mark Mitchell, the Duke transfer, might be out. He didn't play in the Mississippi State game for the conference tournament. He might be out, and that would be a big loss for Missouri. A little bit about Drake, if you don't know, our viewers might not know. It's a full D2 roster. They all transferred in from a D2 team who had won like 4 straight championships, and they've proven they can hang with everybody in the Missouri Valley Conference. So let's see what they can do on the big stage. But Bennett Sturts, he's an elite shooter, offensive illustrator, and a great scorer. I think it's a great team. I think Missouri's a tough matchup. When I go make my bracket, I'm probably going to change this game on Thursday right before and pick the other team because I'm going to go back and forth. I'm going to slot Drake in right now, but it very well could be Missouri. So I'm not confident in picking Drake, but for right now, I'm going to go with Drake and the Bulldogs to get this one done. Next up, we got Texas Tech, the 3 seed, against UNC Wilmington, the 14. What do you think?
I mean, I think Tech wins this game. I don't really think it's that close of a game either. I know we kind of talked about how Tech is a team that, is very overrated. I think people think they're better than they are. But, I mean, I think they're better than UNCW. I mean, I just don't think they have what it takes to beat a Texas Tech team. And Tech honestly looked pretty decent in the conference tournament too. Yeah, give me Tech.
Yeah, I like Tech too, but there's something called an upset. I think, it's March for a reason. They call it the madness. They don't call it March favorites. It's March Madness. So, I like UNC Wilmington. They're wagons. They don't lose basketball games. Every time I ever watch the game, I check the score. UNC Wilmington, they're up by 20. They're a great team. They have a good big who can defend JT Toppin. JT Toppin's a first-team All-American for Tech. But Tech, they really can shoot the three. I mean, they're one of the best three-point shooting teams in the nation. But they've cooled off as of late. And if McMillan and Williams don't play, they've had some injury concerns too. I think UNC Wilmington could get the win here. And I'm going to slot them actually in my bracket beating Tech. I think it's going to be they're the 14 that's going to get it done. They have a senior guard who's a great player, and I think they played well against Kansas. They only lost by 10 to open the season in Allen Fieldhouse at Kansas. So I think UNC Wilmington, they do have what it takes, and I think they beat Tech here. This is a big game. Kansas, the 7 seed against your Hogs over here, Arkansas. What do you think? Going to Arkansas, being an Arkansas guy. What do you think about this game? And I've heard Boogie Fland is probably going to be back.
Yeah, that's a big returning player for us. I think Boogie Fland comes in there, and I think he lights up the scoreboard. I know we're not the greatest with him historically, but you got to think at the beginning of the year, this team was, a bunch of brand new players. I mean, you had guys that transferred from Kentucky. You had, a couple big time freshmen coming into play. I mean, every team's got to gel in their own way. And Calipari's did a great job of turning this team around. So I think I don't really care. You could have Dickinson, you could have Adams, you could have whoever. I bring them all on. I think these boys are built for March, and I think we're going to go dancing. I think Boogie is going to make this offense better. I think it's going to help us out. Is guess what I'm trying to say here. This team is already gelled. I mean, realistically, with 2 big guys out right now, it hurts us. But now we have Boogie returning, and I don't know. I think we can make some Hog magic in the air, and I'm feeling it. So give me the Hogs.
Yeah, my only problem with the Hogs is I don't think they have enough shooting to win games in March. I know they have a great coach. Getting Boogie back is big. But I just don't think they have enough shooting, and they have too many questions. Will Big Z play a good game against Hunter Dickinson? We don't know. But the thing I do know is Adu, he's going to annoy Hunter Dickinson to where I think Dickinson's going to pick up some early fouls. Adu's one of those guys that he's a pest. He likes to get in people's heads. And Dickinson's, he's soft. I mean, we know it. He's a soft player. He's a great player, but he's very soft. The only thing I really believe is Kansas, they're the preseason one for a reason. On paper, they have an insanely good roster. They beat Duke. AJ Storr, Zeke Mayo, they've been hot as of late. Harris is a senior point guard. I think Kansas not only wins this game against Arkansas, I think they beat St. John's in the next round. I think they might even go to the Elite Eight. This Kansas team is legit. But I will say, if Arkansas does beat Kansas, I think they roll St. John's too. I think St. John's is fraudulent. Now let's talk about St. John's in the next matchup. They're getting Omaha. Can they even win that game?
Also, one more thing. Let me throw one more thing back at this Arkansas thing. We got Mr. March on our team. We got Nelly.
Dude, he's been good. He is consistently good in March, but you got to look at Kansas's roster. They're far and away, I think, on paper, better than Florida. On paper, they have the talent.
Oh, come on.
They have a full roster of guys.
They could have all the talent in the world. It doesn't matter who's playing better basketball right now. I think it's clearly the Hogs. Maybe I'm a homer. I mean, you see the Hog in the background right there, but give me the Hogs. I mean, we can go ahead and switch over to this next game. We can go ahead and agree to disagree. My bad. But, yeah, I think the Razorbacks are going to win this game, and I wouldn't be surprised if we made a run to the Elite Eight, Final Four. That's how confident I am in this team.
Yes, but I do think that Kansas-Arkansas winner beats St. John's. I don't think St. John's is that good. And, now we'll preview that St. John's game. They're ranked 65th offensively. And if you're a 2 seed, you can't be ranked 65th in any stat. They do have the number 1 defense, which is big. But when it comes to March, you got to be able to put the ball in the bucket, which is something that Omaha does consistently well. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean – They are, I don't know. I kind of think St. John's is going to win. But
No,
I mean,
I think St. John's, I think they probably will win, and I'll slot them in my bracket because I'm not probably going to pick a 15. But Omaha's going to give them something. I mean, they're not going to go away easy. If you've watched them, they've already got their trash can ready with Rick Pitino's face painted on it, and they're ready to smash it in. So I think they're going to have some motivation. They shoot the three ball well. They can get hot and beat St. John's, who might not be able to, rely on RJ Lewis is their only guy.
yeah, and I also think they're a really well coached team. I think Rick Pitino is one of the better coaches in college basketball. I'd even put him in my top 10, maybe top 5. I think he's a great basketball coach. I think he's going to have his guys ready for, that round 2 game. And I obviously, how we feel about that. But, I mean, to lose first round to Omaha, I think would be pretty absurd. I mean, obviously, crazy things have happened. I mean, last year, Kentucky losing that to Oakland, which we saw one of the craziest performances ever. I mean, that was pretty sweet to see. I just don't see St. John's as that team to get upset round 1.
Yeah, I think, like you said, Rick Pitino, you threw it out there. He's looking ahead. I think he might look past this Omaha team. But, I still pick St. John's. I think the 19.5 points that St. John's getting is a little much. And I think Omaha grabs the lead in this game, but I think St. John's will come back and in the end prevail. But I do think they get upset by Kansas or Arkansas. That'll do it for that regional. Let's go to the East, where Duke is the number 1 seed, playing the play-in game of American versus Mount St. Mary's. Any problems with either one of those teams?
No, but give me American just because I like the red, white, and blue over whatever, I mean, American's going to lose to Duke, but, I mean, they're going to go ahead and defend our country in that play-in game and get a win there. Yeah,
that's a game I will watch just because they're called American. It's going to be a shame when the Blue Devils take them down. The world's going to be, root for American here. Let's talk about Duke just a little bit because I think it's the best Duke team I've ever seen. I think they play so well together. I think maybe roster-wise, the Zion year, RJ Barrett, Cam Reddish, Trey Jones was better. But this team plays so well together. And Cooper Flagg is set to be back for that game 1. Clyde Knippel is a great guard. Sion James and Tyrese Proctor are experienced and both shoot 40% from the 3. And then when you got a guy like Isaiah Evans, the flamethrower coming off the bench, there could be a hand in his face, and it doesn't matter. He's putting it up. And he's shooting 45% from the 3. So I think even their front court depth, Kalman Malawach and Pat Gongba, they've looked so good in the ACC tournament that Gongba stepped up for Malik Brown, who may not return from an injury. And this Duke team has beat Auburn. So the questions of them playing a weak ACC, to me, are put to rest when, they look at them beating Auburn. Let's take a look at Mississippi State versus Baylor, an 8-9 matchup that sticks out to me a lot because I'm high on both of these teams. What do you think about the matchup?
Yeah, I think go ahead and give me Mississippi State here. I know they got Hubbard. He's a great he's a great player. He does throw up a lot of shots. He can tend to shoot them out of games, but I also think he can shoot them in games. I think they got a great athletic team. That's the number one thing that stands out to me when I see this Mississippi State team is they're pure athletes. And it was the same thing with them last year. Last year, that was the number one thing I think you could say about them. I mean, these guys athletically are as athletic as anybody in the country. And so I think that's really going to help them out in a game like this against Baylor, who, it plays really good in some games, plays bad in others. But I think Mississippi State's a more consistent team, and I think they're a more battle-tested team. So I think they're going to put pressure on this Baylor team, and I think they're going to get the win.
Yeah, I think the world obviously wants to see, that Jeremy Roach versus Duke matchup. Jeremy Roach transferring from Duke last year to Baylor. People want to see that game because Jeremy Roach was a 4-year guy for Duke. Norchad Omier, he's the best player in this game. I think he's, different position than Hubbard, but he's more influential. To Baylor, I think Mississippi State's going to put a lot of pressure on Baylor's guards. They're going to try to trap them early and maybe even throw full court press from the jump. With the athleticism they have, especially against Baylor's young guys and Nunn and BJ Edgecombe. I want to pick Mississippi State in this one now. I was leaning towards Baylor, but I think the pressure is going to be too much for them. I'm going to take the Bulldogs here, but I don't think they'll have a chance against Duke. Like I said, Duke's dominant. What do you think about that matchup in Duke and Mississippi State?
Man, I'm kind of with you. I think Duke is a better team, but I think you're kind of taking a little bit of discrediting this State team. I think State could put up a fight against Duke. They're not going to win. Maybe, it's March. Maybe they do win. But, this Duke team is probably going to be a Final Four team. But, man, I really am confident in this State team. I think they beat Baylor, obviously, and I think they put up a fight against Duke. I don't think it's going to be like a blowout or anything. I think Mississippi State can maybe keep it within 10. If they lose by more than 10, maybe it's because, the free throws later on in the game. But I like State to at least put up a fight.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think they will put up a fight, but it's going to be ultimately not enough. Oregon versus Liberty is a 5-12 that I'm once I saw Liberty get paired against Oregon, I was all in on the Flames. But now the more that I look at it, I don't know if I want to pick against the Ducks. What do you think?
Yeah, no, the one game I watched of Liberty this year, they really struggled against Kennesaw State. I wasn't impressed with Liberty at all, honestly. I saw they were the number 1 seed in their conference, and I just was watching them, and I was sitting with my buddy, and I'm like, this is not that great of a basketball team. Give me Oregon. They're more battle-tested, and I think they're prepared more in, a close game. I think if it became a close game, I think Oregon pulls it out. But I really think Oregon probably wins by at least 10 here. Give me the Ducks.
Yeah, it's going to be a home game for Oregon. Nate Biddle, they call him the Big Ugly. He's a great big, not an attractive man. But, they don't have many strengths. They're just a very average team. But, sometimes average wins when Liberty, can't really defend well. But, dude, they got guys, man. Colin Porter, Caden Matheny, they can shoot the ball. They shoot 39% from 3. That's 5th in NCAA Division I. I think if they get hot against Oregon, I don't know. This is a game I've gone back and forth with because they don't rebound well. They usually throw one shot up there and they're already back on defense trying to stop the ball. But a lot of times that shot falls and they get 3 points on the board. I'm going to slot Liberty right now, but I do think Oregon could win that game, and it's going to be something I go back and forth on. But the Flames are definitely a team to watch in March because they could even upset Arizona or Akron next round. Let's preview that one. Those are your boys. Arizona gets Akron.
Yeah, I think Arizona comes in there and do what they've been doing all year. I think they win the game. They lost to a really good Houston team in that final, right? Was that who they played?
Yeah,
right?
Houston.
Yeah, Houston. And I don't know. I think they got a great team. I'm still really. I don't know if they make it out of this region with Duke, but man, I do love this Zona team because they have an instant offense in Nate, man. And when they get hot, go ahead and ring that bell, baby. Give me Zona over Akron. I don't really think it's a close game at all either. I think they kind of come in there and they run the table the whole time.
Yeah, you said Zona has an instant offense. They do, but they can also cool off quick. They're very streaky. I think, the beginning of the year they were bad, but they've definitely turned this team around. They've lately been borderline unstoppable. Akron, they struggle big defensively, and it's just a terrible matchup. You're looking at the 12th best offense against the 183rd worst or best defense. So Arizona should put it to them. I like this Akron team. They play really well together, but I think Arizona is just a bad matchup. They're one of the smallest teams in the nation, and Arizona does offensive rebound well. I like Arizona here, and I like Arizona to defeat Liberty or Oregon, no matter who it is. What about you? You think Arizona wins those first 2 games and makes it out of the first weekend?
I really don't think it matters if it's Oregon or Liberty. I think Zona goes in there, and I think they're easily a Sweet 16 team at least. I know that, they'd be running against Duke, and, my boys might have an L in that one. We'll probably. But until then, I think it's kind of I think they can kind of coast a little bit. I think they might have a little bit of trouble with Oregon, but even then, I think they're the better team. I think Zona is going to win their first 2 rounds pretty handily.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. And I think that, you being an Arizona guy, when you saw the bracket, I'd be a little upset when they got Duke as their 1 because I think they could beat Auburn by the way they get hot and how Auburn's looked bad lately. I think they could beat Houston because Houston defends well, but they can't score. And they almost beat them, in the championship. They were up at times. So I think they get a bad draw playing Duke. But that Arizona's team, they can make something happen. And it wouldn't honestly surprise me if they did beat Duke. Because Arizona's so hot lately and Caleb Love is so dominant against Duke. Historically, he's put up 40 points in a game against Duke and, ended Coach K's season, sent him into retirement, hitting the game winner over Mark Williams. So Caleb Love, if he gets to play Duke, it might be a scary one. BYU versus VCU, that game's going to be in Denver, Colorado, pretty close for BYU and a very far travel for VCU. But it's one of the games that kind of sticks out to me. What do you think about it?
Yeah, I was just about to say the same thing. I like this matchup a lot for VCU. Just because BYU really is kind of like an Iowa State team. I don't see this team really doing a whole lot in this tournament. And historically, they're not the greatest in tournaments. BYU isn't, or at least in, March. I think VCU is a really defensive team, but like I said, who is VCU really played, right? I don't know. They're a decent mid-major team. I like them in this. Man, this is one of those things where I really don't know who to go with here, but I'm going to take VCU because it's March. Crazier stuff has happened. So I think VCU wins this ball game. I think their defense is going to be a lot for BYU. Give me VCU.
Yeah, I agree with you when you talk about, BYU being historically bad lately in tournaments. But they do have the depth. They run 10 guys. Like their legs are fresh because they do run 10 guys. Saunders and Nell are great experienced shooters, and they shoot 38% from 3 as a team, which is about 10th in the nation. They could beat VCU, and I think they probably will. I'm going to go with the Cougs here, but I don't like the team going far. I think they're very, their upset potential is high against VCU. I think they could lose. But I think VCU is just going to struggle a little bit to keep up with BYU's pace. But, I watch Max Scholl go watch Jack Clark. It's going to be an interesting matchup, and it wouldn't surprise me if it went, either way. The winner of that game will get Wisconsin. They'll get Wisconsin. I mean, you'll look at the matchup, Wisconsin-Montana, but they're going to get Wisconsin. Montana, notably, they are the luckiest team. That's a real stat. They're the luckiest team in college basketball. They shouldn't be here right now. So what do you think about Wisconsin?
I mean, I think you're right here. I think Wisconsin is a way better team. I think they can be kind of streaky at times. But overall, I mean, they went and they won the Big Ten tournament. I mean, they beat Michigan State, who I was really high on. I still am high on Michigan State. But they beat a really good Michigan State team, which really shocked me. I didn't think they were going to win that game. I like Wisconsin, and I like them in the next round as well. I don't think anybody would really argue that Wisconsin wins this game.
You mean you got Montana? You mean Montana there?
Wisconsin over Montana.
Yeah.
I meant but they're gonna win round 2 too.
Okay, we got you. Yeah. Wisconsin, I've slopped them into the Sweet 16 as well, because of one man. His name is John Tanji. He can carry this team, but they also have some good perimeter shooters that he can be paired with and distribute the ball. But Tanji, if you don't know him, he should already be a household name. But at the end of March, he's going to be one of those guys that people talk about a lot. Carson Edwards from Purdue, he's very similar to John Tanji. And I think, Edwards wasn't the guy that people talked about until Madness when he put up 48 points. I think Tanji has the potential to go for 48 points in a game. And it might even be against Montana because of how bad they are. But Wisconsin here rolls to the Sweet 16 against BYU or VCU. The 7th seed in this region, the East region, is St. Mary's, and they will be playing Vanderbilt. What do you think about the matchup here? I think the SEC gets an easy draw against St. Mary's, to my knowledge. But what do you think?
Yeah, St. Mary's really hasn't played a whole lot of big games, but I would make the argument for St. Mary's. I think this is the SEC team that you want to be drawn against. I mean, Vanderbilt hasn't been playing great basketball at all. In my opinion, out of every team in the tournament out of the SEC, I think Vanderbilt's the worst. They're 10 seed for a reason, but I mean, like the way they're playing, I mean, Vanderbilt really just, I mean, they got smacked by Texas. I don't know. I think, yeah, probably they are a better team than St. Mary's, but like, man, the way that Vanderbilt's been playing basketball lately is not being fun to watch at all. Just because of how bad they've been playing lately, give me St. Mary's.
Yeah, I think every single year the bracket's out, if I see St. Mary's in there, I just pick whoever they play against. I don't even read the team. St. Mary's is historically awful. I don't know why their defense is ranked 8th, because they just produce the low-scoring games because of how bad their offense is and how slow they play the game. Vanderbilt's going to speed them up, pressure them. If you look at the line here, I mean, Vanderbilt's plus 200. That's insane to me. I think there's great value in that. I'm picking Vanderbilt to win just because they have the experience and, A.J. Hoggard, Jason Edwards, historically good guards, and you got a guy like Ty Nickel, top 5 3-point shooter in college basketball. I think they put it to St. Mary's. I think they win by 15 or 20. No contest. Alabama here, doesn't really matter who they play. They get Robert Morris. But, Alabama, they've been so good lately. I don't see a way they lose to Robert Morris. What do you think?
Yeah, give me Robert Morris. No, I'm just kidding. I'll take Alabama. The Tide's going to roll here round one. As much as I'm not a fan of Bama, I would love to say that, but I really don't think that it's going to be much of a game. I think you're right. I think Robert Morris is a far inferior team, and Bama's just going to roll them. I mean, like we talked about earlier this season, Bama's a really fun offense to watch. I know we've disagreed on a lot of the games they've played in on who we thought is going to win. I know you've typically leaned Bama's way, but I'm going to lead Bama's way this time with you. But, man, wouldn't that be awesome if Robert Morris won that? I mean, that would be awesome.
It would be. I don't even think people know Robert Morris is a school because they don't think they have a football program. I think basketball is really their only thing.
And they don't ever – you never see them in the tournament in baseball either. So they definitely fly under the radar, that's for sure.
Yeah, I have Bama here. I don't think they have any problem with Vanderbilt or St. Mary's either. What about you?
Yeah, no. Like if Vanderbilt were to win, which I wouldn't be surprised. I'm going to go on record. I wouldn't be surprised if Vanderbilt won. Like you could be right here. When I say I think St. Mary's wins, I just think it's the way that Vanderbilt's been playing ball lately. Like they just haven't been able to win games. They've been really struggling. So that's why I think. I mean, they better have it, cleared up fast. But I mean, they were first round exit in the SEC tournament. Didn't really compete a whole lot against that Texas team in that game either. They got smacked in the mouth by Arkansas. They got, I don't know. I mean, those teams are better than St. Mary's, but I guess Bama, I think, takes out whoever wins that game, though, 100%. As much as I hate to say it, I think Bama is a Sweet 16 team at least. Yeah,
before we wrap the East up, a quick preview of a Sweet 16 game could be Wisconsin and Alabama, and I think that's going to be a great game. John Tanji versus Mark Sears is something that I want to watch. Like I need that to happen. I don't want any upsets in that region. I want that game for the winner to play the winner of Duke and Arizona because I think that's a stacked region of good basketball.
Yeah, I would love to see Robert Morris in Wisconsin, though. Really high on this Robert Morris team.
They're not awful, but they just have a bad draw in Bama and they have no chance. Midwest. Midwest is the last region. Houston's the 1 seed here. Again, I don't see any 16s winning, but SIUE is who they get. Anything?
No, yeah, Houston, man, they've got a fun team to watch. I was really sitting there watching them against Colorado. I know that's a bad example, but I mean, Houston scores the ball and they've got some shooters, man. They know how to light up that scoreboard and they can light it up really quick. So I think it's going to be too fast for this SIUE team. I mean, I don't think it's really much of a game either. I think it's about maybe a 10 to 20 point game. I think they're just a lot more athletic. And I think they just come in there and they light up the scoreboard, and I think that they just score really quickly. Yeah, I think Houston wins, and I think it's a long shot too, or by a long margin.
Yeah, I'm very low on Houston, very low. Yes, their offense is decent as of late, and their defense is obviously historically good. They're ranked second, but they've struggled scoring at times. I think the defense is so good it forces their offense by turning teams over, but they have struggled putting the ball in the basket. When you play Houston, you also have to play the refs. They tend to get the refs whistle. But let me ask you some quick questions. Houston, would you rather have Houston or Bama? Who's better?
Ooh, I guess Bama. I think Bama's better. Yeah.
Yeah, but Houston or Tennessee?
Tennessee.
Exactly. I think Houston is overseeded just because they didn't want to give a third SEC team, I guess, that spot. But they're rightfully – I mean, they're, 30-4 is good, especially in Big 12. It's a pretty good conference. But I'm taking a lot of those 2 seeds over Houston. And I think that's where they're kind of faulty. They won't have a problem with SIUE. But they will get the winner of Gonzaga, Georgia, which is a big game for me because Gonzaga is historically pretty good, and Georgia, they're not historically good, but they've looked good this season. So what do you think about Gonzaga versus Georgia?
Yeah, give me the dogs, man. I like this Georgia team against Gonzaga. Georgia's kind of a team that, flew under the radar this season. And what I mean by that is everyone has known they're good, but, they haven't been one of the teams that's usually mentioned out of the SEC. And I think they're a good basketball team. They compete. I don't know. I think they win this game. I really do. And I think they've played a lot more big games and they're a lot more battle tested than Zaga is. So I think that just that alone is going to propel this team to win that round 1 matchup.
Yeah, when you look at Georgia, they got some good freshmen, but they beat Florida and St. John's. They beat Florida and St. John's. They're a 9 seed, and they beat 2 of the better teams in the country. And Gonzaga hasn't played too many guys. They killed Baylor at the beginning of the year. But I'm not too high on the Zags. I like your Georgia pick. I'm probably going to rock Georgia as well. But, Nembhard could step up. He averages 10 assists a game, the nation's leader. An interesting stat is Gonzaga has made 9 straight Sweet 16s. Historically, that's something to look for because Mark Few knows how to get those boys going in March. A region that takes place in Providence, Rhode Island. It's a shame Providence couldn't make tournament. I know you're a Friars guy. But Clemson's playing McNeese as a 5-12 game. What do you think about that game?
Give me McNeese State, baby. Give me McNeese State. That's my upset pick of the tournament. I love this McNeese State team. They're great coached. It's a shame that Will Wade's not at LSU anymore. Got some trouble over there, whatever. I mean, I would love to bring him back, but, he's found himself a home at McNeese State, and I think they're one of the hottest teams in the country as well. I mean, they win games. They win games, and they got a pretty talented team too. I think they're really good for a mid-major ball club. I think they beat Clemson. I really do, and I think it'll be a great game, and I think it's going to shock a lot of people. But for those of you who don't know about McNeese State, go ahead and turn on TV for this basketball game because I think they're going to show a lot of people in this one that they're a lot better than the name of the school. They're putting literally the state of Louisiana on their back right now. So give me McNeese State.
Yeah, it's a very interesting matchup. I'll preview Clemson first. They are the best 5 seed. I think they could have been a 4. I think they have the talent to be a 3. I think they're a very good basketball team. 2 great bigs. I think they're underrated. They could make the Elite 8. And when they play, they look to be the aggressor. They beat Duke by being the aggressor. So they do have what it takes. McNeese, when you look at them, they are the most emotional team I've ever seen. They're very into the game. But every time they commit a foul, They are yelling at the refs. There will be technical fouls in this game on McNeese. Will Wade might get a technical foul. But I think the deal with McNeese is they're too hyped up by America. They're TikTok's team is what I'll call McNeese this year. They're the one everybody says, pick McNeese in your bracket, they're going to win. So it's not going to happen. I think it's the complete opposite. You know, they see their manager on TikTok bringing out the boombox for the game. It's a big thing going around TikTok. I don't see a way McNeese wins the game because Clemson is so good. I think they have a bad draw. If they play a team like Oregon, they can
go ahead and keep doubting them. Go ahead and keep doubting them.
I'm not doubting that they're good. I'm doubting that they can't beat Clemson because Clemson is so good. But we will see because I do think that will be a good game to watch.
Hey, over here at McNeese State, we want people to say that we're going to lose. That's what we want.
Let me take a look at what time that game is. They should put it at
I think it's at 2:15. That's what it says on my bracket thing right here, but I don't know.
Yeah, that's a game you gotta put, you know, in the 8 o'clock slate where everybody's watching. 2:15 is like you're in class, you turn the game on. I don't like the timing of that one because it's going to be a good matchup, but I got Clemson winning there. Another really interesting matchup, the 4-13 Purdue versus High Point. High Point's one of the teams that I've really liked as a mid-major. What do you think about Purdue versus High Point?
I really am not too impressed with this Purdue team. Them being a 4 seed, I don't know. I think they're probably the worst out of the 4 seeds. I think this High Point team could pull off an upset here, but I mean, I don't know. I think they can. They're a good coach team. Purdue is. I mean, last year I really didn't think Purdue was going to go as far as they did. But man, I guess I'll take Purdue here. But I mean, it really wouldn't surprise me if High Point came over here and put Purdue on upset watch. I think that's one of those games that you gotta. If High Point were to win, I mean, it really wouldn't shock me. But I think Purdue go ahead ultimately is the better team, and I think they take it out.
Yeah, I think McNeese. You know, talk about McNeese, who we just talked about. They get screwed by being a 12 because if they're the 13, they beat Purdue. Because I'm not high on Purdue. But then again, I mean, Kaufman Wren averages 20 points a game, and Braden Smith is a second-team All-American. So they do have what it takes. They have it roster-wise, but they haven't really won many games. They've got 11 losses, and they were 6th in the Big Ten. You know, that's not something that I like to see, you know, heading into March. And they have the 63rd, you know, best defense, which is not good when there's 64 teams in the tournament. And High Point has the 25th best offense. So that can be very shocking when you take a look at it. But, you know, I'm at High Point. They play 10 guys. They're fast-paced. This is their first ever tournament appearance. But they haven't even played a single power conference team. So you have no idea what you're getting here. It's a mystery. You don't know if they'll be able to play against a good team. But they've been dominant against the bad ones. They're only 7-point dogs against Purdue, which is a little shocking to me. But I'm going to take Purdue here. I think High Point's just a bad matchup. Now we have Illinois being the 6th seed. They'll get the winner of Xavier and Texas. So let's preview the Xavier and Texas matchup first. That'll be the play-in on Wednesday. What do you think?
I got one name for you. Trey Johnson.
Oh.
Yeah, no, you can make faces. Everyone in the country, you know, whatever. Texas is going to win this game. And Trey Johnson, man, he's just going to bang, bang, bang. I could do that all day when I'm talking about Trey Johnson, man. He's going to be – his new nickname is going to be Mr. March because I think they win this game. And I think they beat Illinois as well just because of the man, the myth, the legend, Trey Johnson.
I'm pretty sick and tired of hearing of Trey Johnson. Not because he's a good basketball player. He's a great basketball player. I think he's one of the best basketball players in college basketball right now. The only reason Texas is in this field is because of Trey Johnson. Not because they deserve to be in the field. It's because Trey Johnson will sell tickets. Trey Johnson will get viewers to watch March Madness. Trey Johnson will be the reason people even watch on Wednesday. If it was Xavier and Boise State, who is turning on their TV?
Not me.
Nobody. But when you see Trey Johnson, Trey Johnson, turn on your TV. Let's watch Trey. it'll happen, and not because they're good. I think Xavier wins the game because Texas has no business being in with 15 losses, the most out of any team that wasn't an automatic qualifier. And Zach Freemantle is going to have his way against Texas physicality. I don't like either team to beat Illinois. I think Illinois is too talented. They lost to Duke by 45, which people, they worry about. But Yakachonis is one of the best point guards. He's a top 10 NBA pick. They have experience. They have a great coach in Brad Underwood. So I'm going to go with the Illini, but I think Xavier does win that play-in game. But I do think it'll be a good play-in game. I think Trey Johnson will keep it close. But ultimately, I think Xavier's team is better than Texas's team. Do you think if Xavier wins, they beat Illinois, or you think Illinois would beat Xavier?
I think Illinois beats Xavier. I just think when we think about March, there's always that one team that has, a really good player and he makes a lot of noise. And I think Trey Johnson in Texas is that team this year. I think Trey Johnson's not a player you want to go against in the tournament by any means. So I think they beat Xavier, and I do think it'll be a good game. And it wouldn't shock me if Xavier won, but, man, if you let Trey Johnson get hot, people aren't talking about this. Texas could have beat Tennessee. They could have beat them.
They could have beat Tennessee, but in the end, they lost by 20. It was ultimately too much for Texas to hang with Tennessee Vols. But when you do say, Trey Johnson, I'm not arguing. He is one of the best players in college basketball offensively. Texas has the 57th ranked offense. When you have the number one offensive player, that shows you how bad the rest of the team is. When you're 57th offensively with the best offensive scorer in basketball. So I think they just, as long as Xavier shuts down Trey Johnson, which double team him. I mean, who else is going to make shots? But Xavier is actually favored in this game by 2.5. So maybe you get some value by taking Texas.
Yeah, definitely. I will be taking Texas.
Let's talk Kentucky. They're a 3 seed. Any shock? Because, last year they were a 3 seed, loses to Oakland behind Jack Golke in the Magic. They're playing Troy this year. Troy is very lucky to get a 14. They should be about a 15 or 16. And Kentucky's looked pretty good late. What do you think about these Wildcats?
Yeah, I got a buddy that goes to Troy, and I'm just going to apologize to you now. I think Kentucky smacks him in the mouth. I really, I haven't been high on this Kentucky team this year, but I think they do beat Troy, and I think they beat him pretty handedly. I don't think Troy's that great of a team. I think they're just going to shoot the ball, make their shots, score a lot of points, play Kentucky basketball. And I think that's going to be that. I really don't think it's going to be close at really any point in the game. Last year, Kentucky did get upset, but that's because they went against Mr. March, Mr. Magic. I mean, that was insane. I mean, people are going to be talking about that 10 years from now. So, yeah, I think Kentucky wins this game. I don't think we're going to see any crazy voodoo performance from anybody. Not this year. So, yeah, give me the Wildcats.
I think the Wildcats roll. I think they go out and start this game 15-0. And they don't look back from there. Do I think Kentucky is, I think they'll win by 25-30. Do I think they're 25-30 points better than Troy? Maybe not. But they're once they get hot, they don't stop. Like they have no mercy for teams. If they're making shots, they will continue to make shots. And I think Kentucky rolls Troy. Let's go 7 seed real quick. UCLA, Utah State. It's nothing that jumps out at me, but you do have to pick the game. So what do you got here?
I guess UCLA. I don't trust the Mountain West in anything, and I don't think UCLA is that good either. But, I guess UCLA wins. I mean, like I said, this is probably a game I don't watch. There will probably be better games on at that time that I'd rather be watching. I mean, especially since this game's on a Thursday, that's at 6 o'clock. So I'll be watching the A&M Vanderbilt baseball game instead of that. If those are my two choices, I'm watching A&M lose again on Thursday. So, give me UCLA.
I mean, you're also going to get the end of Drake, Missouri, Yale A&M, Kansas Arkansas ending at the same time as this game? No, I mean, who's watching this
Hey,
one?
I might split screen Yale and A&M and A&M Vandy just so I can watch A&M lose at the same time twice. Like it'd be one screen of watching A&M get shocked by the world, and the other screen I'm just watching A&M play normal A&M baseball and lose games. So really, I might do that. I might dual screen and just watch A&M lose and pop some popcorn, kick back, maybe have a beer. I don't know. That's what I'm gonna do.
Yeah, I think this one, I wish we could like reshuffle the bracket just for this game to not be a game. Because I'd rather watch Texas UNC. I think like put these teams in the play-in and give me Texas UNC because this is just boring. Like Ian Martinez is a great player for Utah State, don't get me wrong, but how is UCLA fourth in the Big Ten? They don't play good basketball. Neither team is very good, and they will get killed by Tennessee in the next round. I'll pick Utah State for now, just because I don't have a Mountain West team winning, and maybe I can choose one. So I'll go with Utah State, but then they're going to get the winner of Tennessee Wofford. What kind of sticks out to you in that game?
I don't think they have a chance to beat Tennessee. I'm trying to be nice about this. Look, man, I loved me some Wofford baseball last year with Zach Cowan and those boys. They made some noise in that Chapel Hill Regional, and they had a great baseball team. But that's baseball. The sport might start with the B, but at the end of the day, that's base, not basket, right? So you're having to play basketball here. I don't think Wofford really has a chance. I don't think they should even be in the tournament. But I guess, they kind of have to, whatever. But I really am not excited to see that game. Tennessee's going to pummel them. Tennessee's a top 5 team in the country. I don't think they're top 2 in the SEC or anything like that. I know you might disagree with me on that, but I at one point was really high on this Tennessee team, and I do think they're a good team, but I don't know. I don't really see any upset out of Wofford on this one.
Yeah, I'll watch the game because I love basketball. 95% of the nation won't watch this game until my boy Kyler Philwich gets fouled and starts shooting granny free throws. He's an underhand free throw guy. The whole world's going to be talking about it. Maybe that's the guy who makes the legacy run. Maybe Wofford gets some magic just because they have a granny free throw guy. But notably, he shoots 32% from the line. Why are you shooting underhand if you shoot 32%? Makes no sense to me. Like, yeah, if you shoot 80%, do them granny, I don't care. But if you shoot 30% from the free throw line, why are you shooting underhand free throws? Does not make sense to me. I'll never understand it. But that's just what he does, and it draws attention to the game because I'm talking about it right now. So, Tennessee will roll there. That's the end of the first round. Let's just do a quick Final Four, I guess. Looking at the bracket right now, who is your Final Four?
Yeah, so for my Final Four, I've got Auburn, Florida, Duke, and Tennessee. I think it's going to be. I could see some other teams maybe making a run in there. But I don't know. I think those are the best four, and I think Florida wins it all. I think we could see a Duke Florida championship game, which would be absolute cinema. And I know a lot of people, talk about this could be or is whatever the best Duke team of all time, but I really like this Florida team. I just don't see how you could pick against them right now. So that's my Final Four, and I think Florida wins it all.
Yeah, I'll give you mine out of the South. Auburn's the 1 seed. I don't care. I'm going to go with the Spartans of Michigan State. I think they have an easy draw, and that's kind of the reason I'm picking them to get there. They're 3 seeds, Iowa State. I'm not too crazy about them. And then I think Auburn gets upset before they even play the Elite Eight by A&M, by Creighton, by Michigan.
You mean Yale?
Okay, they're not
Yale?
losing. No, Yale is not getting to the Sweet 16. But Auburn's volatile to lose to one of those teams, I think, in my opinion, of Creighton, A&M, Michigan. So I'm picking Michigan State as my first team. And my second team, I'll go out of the East. I think it's Duke. I don't think it's close. Bama might give them some trouble, but I think it's Duke there. The West, I'm really torn between Florida and Kansas. I know you're like, oh, Kansas, that's a crazy pick. They're not even going to win the first round. But I think Kansas, if they get hot, they're hard to stop. I'll go with Florida. So that's Florida, Michigan State, Duke. And then out of the Midwest, I think it's Tennessee, but Clemson. The Clemson Tigers, I think, could do it and could get to the Final Four with a pretty easy draw for me. I know you have them losing in the first round to McNeese. But, dude, I think Clemson, they get hot, they could beat a team like Houston, and that's going to be my Final Four. Let's do one last question here. Out of the double-digit seeds, let's go 12 or 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Who's your favorite team?
McNeese State, baby. That's my favorite. I really do think they can make a run, maybe even potentially go to the Sweet 16. I really do like this McNeese State team. I mean, they only have 3 losses on the year, right? Or is it 4? They're at 3 or 4 losses, not like.
I believe it is. It's 6. It is 6. 27-6 is their record.
Oh wow, never mind. I'm wrong. I thought they only had 4. I guess
they've lost 1 game since Christmas.
Okay,
so
yeah. Yeah.
But I like your pick there of McNeese. I'm gonna go with the 14 seed UNC Wilmington. They might have a tough draw against Tech in the first round, but from what I watched of them and beating Charleston in that championship game, I think they are the team to watch this year. They're going to be your 14. They're going to be your Oakland type team, your St. Peter's. There's going to be one team that's going to be, a big upset. I think it's UNC Wilmington. And if not, it's going to be Omaha beating St. John's. We'll go with UNC Wilmington. So that'll do it for this podcast. I think next we're going to have a baseball podcast for our baseball listeners tomorrow. And then, next week it'll be interesting to talk about the end of the first round matchups and a little Sweet 16 preview along with, some SEC and other action out of the baseball side of things. So yeah, thanks for listening, and we will see you guys next week.